Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel once again. And listen, we're like, today's Tuesday. We're 2 days into the school week, Monday, Tuesday, and there's a car outside. You hear that? That's not a car. That's like a truck. All right, it's gone. So yeah, we're we're 2 days into the school week, right? And we've already had two fighter pullouts. One of them was a main event with Gastelum pulling out of his fight with Imavov, and then I had the hiccups. And then Strickland stepping in to fight Imavov on 6 days' notice. That was yesterday. Today now, a fight that could have been a main event possibly, but was highly expected to be a co-main with my bad, with Aljamain Sterling. It seems that he will not be fighting anytime soon. Now, popular belief among many fans, many people who are involved in the MMA UFC scene, it was highly expected that Aljamain Sterling was gonna fight a top bantamweight contender in sometime during March. That was what was being talked about. That was what people were saying. People were expecting to happen, and it was either gonna be someone top three at bantam. Oh my bad, bantamweight. And it could have been Sean O'Malley, Peter Yan. Some people, I hear what you were saying, Marab. Some people said Cheeto Vera, but it was how do you say it? Damn, my mind just completely. And I got the hiccups too. This is not a good start to the video, but people were expecting Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo as the Jesus Christ, as the co-main event for the March 4th card pay-per-view for UFC 285, and it was expected to be the co-main to the main event that was expected to be Ngannou versus Jones, and even that's not looking too likely right now. I'll make a video about that likely tomorrow or the day after. Maybe I won't make one. That's possible too if I just forget entirely. Damn, I got the hiccups. But yeah, pretty much what happened with Aljamain Sterling is he has a torn bicep. He tore his bicep during training. We don't really know much else. We don't know how it happened, whatever it may be, but at least we know what it is. At least we know that it's a torn bicep. Most fighter pullouts that we've seen recently in the past few weeks and months, we just don't really know what's going on. Like, they have an injury, but we don't know what injury. And it's not like you have to say the injury. You're allowed to not say it. I understand it could be hurtful. Jesus. To future fights you have, and you don't want people to know you have weakness in that area. So it's not a bad thing to not say your injury, to not disclose it. But we just haven't seen a lot of disclosing of those injuries. But the injuries, the big injuries that have happened this week mainly, with Gastelum, we know it was a mouth injury. His teeth got knocked out. He needed surgery on his gums, I'm pretty sure. We talked about it yesterday. And now Aljamain Sterling, he's going to be needing some surgery as well, likely. It'll depend on how severe the injury is. I looked this up. On average, it'll take for a mild bicep tear, nothing that's too bad, but is still enough to take you out of competition. It'll take anywhere up to 10 weeks to fully heal, to fully heal or fully recover. That's what I meant to say. But if it's severe enough, if the bicep tear is really that bad, which it doesn't seem like it's that bad, but if it is, because we don't know how bad it is still. If the bicep tear does seem to be that bad, then it could require surgery, and it could require a few months out of the game. So based on what we know and how Aljo's team has reacted and how things seem to be right now, it doesn't seem to be a severe bicep tear. I don't think it'll need a super heavy surgery. I don't think it'll need too many months to heal. But Aljamain Sterling has made it clear that he won't fight in March against Henry Cejudo. That's something we know for sure. When can we expect to fight him again? It'll really depend on how bad that bicep tear really is. But if it were me, I would expect something in the summer, or if he really does need a little bit more time off, something during the winter, maybe November or December, maybe October, if we're if he's able to recuperate in that time. Just making a prediction off of what we know right now. That's kind of the whole time frame of that. You know, damn, my mind went blank. Okay, what I was gonna talk about next. If Aljamain Sterling can defend his undisputed title on the 4th of March and won't be able to for maybe a few months, few weeks, who knows, then if he's gonna be out for enough time, the UFC, damn, you heard that motorcycle outside? The UFC will have to make a interim title fight. So, Sugar Sean tweeted out today, is Aljo Comain fighting Henry or not? I'm confused. He said his bicep is torn. If that's the case, let me beat up Henry. Now, here's the thing with the Henry Cejudo fight. Henry Cejudo called out Sean O'Malley back in July. More specifically, July 2nd, after Sean's no contest result against Pedro Munoz for UFC 276. In Cejudo's words, he said, I'm coming back. I would love a tune-up fight. What would you say? And then he called Sugar Sean O'Malley precious. I thought that was kind of silly. But then again, Cejudo was interrupting Sugar Sean's interview, made him look kind of bad, made him look silly, and pretty much called them out to fight. Sugar Sean responded by saying, oh, nah, that guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not going to fight. Something along those lines. But he did say, like, nah, that guy's crazy. Kind of turned it down. At first, he was saying, like, well, you're good now, right? You're on the roster. You're going to get back to the weight. But near the end, it just kind of seemed like Sugar Sean was not really, was just not really feeling it at the time. I guess now it's something's changed along the lines. But if you want my opinion, let's look at let's look at the roster. Let's look at the top 5 in bantamweight right now. Top 5. We have the champion, Sterling, who's injured. Sugar Sean O'Malley, Piotr Jan, Marab, Chito Vera, Corey Sandhagen, and then, of course, the looming presence of Henry Cejudo, former 2-time champion in the UFC. Now, Chito Vera, Corey Sandhagen, scheduled to fight end of February 18th. It's not really end of February. That's still mid-February. So middle of February, Chito Vera and Corey Sandhagen are expected to fight in the UFC Apex for a fight night main event. 5 rounds, all of that. Whoever wins that fight is expected to be ranked at number 4. If Chito wins, he will likely stay ranked at number 4. He might even take Marab's spot at number 3. If his win is impressive enough. So they're going to fight, and they likely won't fight for an interim title if they're expecting to make it in March, as the UFC usually does, by replacing the fight with an interim title fight. That'll likely be the UFC's best option, so they will likely won't have Chito Vera or Corey Sandhagen in that title picture. Now that leaves us with 4 options, and Marab doesn't deserve the title shot yet, in my opinion. His best win is against a now retired Jose Aldo, where he pretty much held him against the fence for 3 rounds. And that was kind of the highlights of that whole fight that happened at UFC 278 for the co-main event. That's not really the kind of fight, that kind of performance that gets you that title shot. I don't think that should happen. Obviously there's Piotr Jan, which it's a good one. He's already fought for an interim title. He's already lost twice to Sterling, but it's still, I guess it's someone you could put up to that interim title. However, he is on a 2-fight losing streak. He did already lose to Sean O'Malley. It wouldn't make sense to put Piotr Jan against Cejudo over Sean O'Malley. So where does that leave us now? That leaves us with the number 1 ranked contender right now, Sean O'Malley, versus Henry Cejudo for the interim title. That is the only fight that realistically makes sense for the interim title fight. Cejudo has been in the pool. He's been cutting weight. He will be good to go by the time this interim title fight is set up. By the time they sign contracts, he will be active again, I guess. Just recapturing that glory and what it means to be a fighter and all that. Because don't get me wrong, Cejudo is an Olympic gold medalist. He is the only UFC Olympic gold medalist to go on to win a undisputed UFC title. Not only that, he won 2 undisputed UFC titles in bantamweight and flyweight. He's beaten some of the greatest guys in those weight classes. He beat Demetrius Johnson, which many people consider him to be the greatest of all time. I myself include him in my top 5, top 3 greatest of all time. So Cejudo is no joke. Even with that layoff and the time off and the retirement and the weight gain in his time off, the inactivity, he still got the credentials to acquire a title shot, another one, in his comeback fight. And who better than Sean O'Malley? It's a winnable fight for Cejudo, and since it's still uncertain how Cejudo is with his time off and all that, Sugar Sean, it's a decent enough win for him too, because Cejudo has been inactive for a few years now. So that's the perfect interim title fight to make. Now, what do you do with the rest of them? Well, obviously Cheeto and Sanagan are fighting. That leaves Petr Yan and Merab left at number 2 and number 3. Is that the perfect fight to make? Yes, 100%. That is the best fight to make. I pray for this fight to happen, because it's not even for what the fight will end up being or what the outcome will be or whatever. It is the circumstances between this fight. Listen, you have number 2 ranked Petr Yan, 2-fight losing streak, villain. Or not villain, I take that back. Now has that sort of villain mindset, like, damn, in his eyes, the UFC robbed me of my last fight. And there's an argument to be made that they robbed him in his fight before that. So they could now project him or put him in the spotlight as a sort of villain at bantamweight versus Merab Dvalishvili, who is a close friend of Aljamain Sterling. If Petr Yan beats Merab and then Sterling fights the interim champion, let's say Sterling wins, that is the perfect way to set up Sterling versus Yan 3, the trilogy. Super big, hyped up main event, maybe. I think that's the perfect outcome for the UFC. And then whoever wins that will fight likely Cheeto Vera if he wins. Because if Sanagan wins, I think he should still fight one more person. So that's the ideal way I want to see the UFC going. I think it's perfect. I think that's the way they need to go in the bantamweight division. I think that's the best way to do it. It all starts with O'Malley versus Cejudo interim title, and then Petr Yan versus Merab as the featured bout of whatever it may be. The month before, the month after, the same event, same pay-per-view, Petr Yan versus Merab. That is the perfect fight for the future. So anyway, that's just my opinion for bantamweight and where it should go. Yeah, Yan versus Merab, make it happen.